Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Let's see. Is that a little better? There we go. Awesome. Hopefully, you are doing great. I wanted to go live a little bit more. Is it only me or is the audio cracking? Hopefully, it's not. Let me know if anyone else says the audio is cracking or not. It looks, at least like the levels look good where I am at. So hopefully it's not. Florian, about to get on the stationary bike in the gym. Give me something to distract me, Josh. Well, have you? Here's this for distraction. One, I'm just gonna be, I don't know, preparing. So like, I have not met Chris. The audio is broken. Oh no. Let's see. Works on Twitch but broken on YouTube. Well, that sucks. Let me go ahead and see if I can fix this. It's weird that it's broken on broken on YouTube but not Twitch. So I basically am using this free version, or not free, like it's a hostable version of Restream called Restreamer. It's basically like a Restream alternative kind of thing. So I'm pushing to Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube with the same audio file. So it's interesting that YouTube is breaking. But everyone on Twitch, everyone's audio sounds fine. Only on YouTube it is broken. Very interesting. Seems better here than YouTube. Is it still not great, Learner 0418? Glad to have you here. Thanks for popping in. And thanks for the follow. And Exit is fine, only on YouTube it is broke. That's so weird. Let me see if I can, let me like just maybe reset it and see if that fixes it. This is why I went live a little bit earlier before having Chris pop on the stage, because I wanted to make sure there weren't any issues. All right, I reset it on YouTube. Is it still broken, everyone? Switch to Twitter,
fine over here, says Florian. Well, glad to have you on. Glad to have you on Twitter now, Florian. I might have to just end YouTube, unfortunately, if it's still broken. I'm waiting for some more comments. Oh, it works. It works. Sweet. Okay. All I did was just turn it off and turn it back on again. That's the way to do it, I guess. So I'm basically using, I'll have to make like a video about this sometime, but basically using like I'm hosting on Docker. I'm actually using Coolify to host it. It's just a simple, basically like a one-click command to install this thing called Restreamer, which I can set like my own custom domain, and then I can basically just give it a stream value, and then it will push it to any other source for me. So Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Yeah, I'm glad it's working. I literally just turned it off and turned it back on. That's the win of the tech world. But yeah, thanks so much everyone for joining. I wanted to go live mostly to clear out those issues first before Chris got on. But so he's going to jump in. And of course, we'll probably have a bunch of issues. This is the first time, actually, this isn't the first time. This is the first time I set up like a really better looking, like before I think I had a guest on the stream. I just used like Google Meet, and we just like screen captured like Google Meet. But now I actually have like a cool little dual text setup. Yeah, I'm super excited. One, I wanted to go live a little bit earlier to hopefully talk through with you all of what I should, or how I should approach teaching Chris. So Chris reached out to me, and I'll tell this story again, like when he's on in a little bit, but Chris reached out to me, and was basically like, hey, I want to learn Laravel. I don't know where to start. And so I said, well, why don't we do it live on stream? So I've never met him before, except for, just watching his YouTube videos. I learned from his Astro course. He's coding on public on YouTube. Jason on Twitch says, what's the longest you've used one setup? I plead the fifth on that. There's a funny story with my setup process, because I guess it's not funny. Like I try to record all my videos. I rarely ever do reshoots. But there was one video I was recording for the Laravel official channel, and all of a sudden, I needed to reshoot, but I had changed my whole background, and so I literally couldn't. So I had to redo the whole video. But yeah, I just restarted it, and it works fine now on YouTube. On Twitch, thanks so much, Linus Dev and Learner and Jack Peretti and Coding with Lewis. I know you're on YouTube, but you also followed on Twitch, so thanks so much. I appreciate it. I try to keep the same setup though, but yeah, we'll see how it works with getting Chris on. I set up for those who are in the streaming world. There's this tool called ninja.obs. Is it Ninja? VDO.ninja. VDO.ninja. And it's basically just like this little, like low latency thing that gives you like a browser source, but people can connect to it, so you can like see their camera, and then they can connect it. You can see their screen. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I want to. So he reached out to me and he was like, I want to learn Laravel. I said, hey, why don't we do it live? And then I was basically going to figure out what to talk to them about. And a lot of it's probably just going to be like, okay, he has literally never touched PHP, he has literally never touched Laravel. So it's going to be very basics install process, but then also just like, okay, what's like the first step? He is an Astro dev, and so he's familiar with React. So we might do inertia, we might do React, we might do Livewire to make it easier. Send me links. I want to try a new setup. It is vdo.ninja. Really super cool. And like whoever has created this, I apologize like to the author. I don't know who created it, but there's like a whole slew of tools for like streams. I haven't gotten this one set up, but you can also like have chats from all of like the live stream aggregate system. You can like have them show up on your screen, and you can customize how they show up and everything. It's like called Social Stream, but there's like 20 different tools that this person makes. Harris works fine here. Well, I'm glad it works now on YouTube. YouTube is where the most people are. So like that would have sucked if I couldn't get the audio right. So I'm just hoping it stays like that. Let me know if it doesn't, and I'll do like the on and off again. But yeah, thanks so much everyone for hanging out. Learner, I'm trying to build a social media app for devs as a way to learn full stack dev. Awesome. Sweet. It'll be cool to see what it is. Thanks for joining us. StreamYard finally added on screen chat. Yes, they finally added on screen chat. So we use for the Riff and Refine podcast, which will be going live in just like 3 hours from now. We still we use StreamYard for that because it makes it easier to stream to more. Like I can stream to all my places fine, but if I wanted a guest to also stream to their places, like just doing all that through OBS is such a pain. It's doable, but such a pain. How's the music level, everyone? Too quiet? Too loud? I always like to, like, this is royalty-free music using Stream Beats. So I always like to like have a little bit in the background, but if it's too distracting, let me know and I'll turn it off. Especially once Chris gets on. Speaking of, he probably is jumping in. Again, we're doing all this live. I have not talked to him yet. I sent him like some info to like join the stream. Yeah, let me pull it up and see what we can do. Yeah, Jason, you don't hate StreamYard, but it definitely needs work. Yeah, it's one of those things where like another thing, I can't tell it to give more bitrate. Like for some reason, my camera, like I like just looking at YouTube, like it feels like very quiet. Bass was high. Okay, so I'll turn up the music just a little bit. Yeah, and someone says I don't even know I had music going. But yeah, for some reason on StreamYard, my camera looks very blurry. Like it's not as HD as it could be, and and maybe it's just because I'm like pushing more bitrate to YouTube when I'm just streaming through OBS, and so that's what I'm used to. But yeah, for some reason StreamYard messes up my camera, and I don't know why. I mean, it's probably fine for majority of cases. It just bothers me because I know. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but Wow, Yao, Joao. Also, I'll call you Wow. Glad to have you here. Let me pop over to the where Chris is, and let's see if we can get him on the stream. I gotta pull up this. Might be the bit rate. Yeah, it's probably the bit rate for StreamYard, but at the same time, I don't think there's a way to change it. And that's the frustrating part. Like I can't tell it, hey, give like allow more. I already set it to allow like to HD, but I think like that's as high as it allows. Pull open this. Hello, Chris. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Chris? Testing 1, 2. All right, so I'm trying to get Chris on. I can see him, but he can't hear me just yet. So I'm trying to get him on right now. Let's go ahead and pull this up. All right, let's see. Let's pull open this. All right, so we can see Chris there. All right, I can see Chris there, but I don't think he can hear me yet. So let me grab this link and see if I can. That's really what it comes down to. Him not being able to hear me. Let's see. Can you hear me at all now, Chris? That is weird. I can hear Chris. I can see him, but I don't think he can hear me. So I might have to jump on a Discord link or something with him. Let's see. Let's see. All right. So I thought I had tested this out. I had tested this out by myself, but maybe like there was some weird thing where I thought I was hearing myself, but I really wasn't. So I know that this Video Ninja, like I can see him and hear him, but I cannot. He cannot see or hear me, unfortunately, which is the interesting part. All right, calling him on Discord. All right, can you hear me now, Chris? Sweet. Yeah, let me turn on my camera here, and you probably can turn off or turn. I think if you keep the camera on the other one, and then I'll just share my camera here. Kill your camera on Discord just for latency's sake, I guess. And I'll share my camera here just so I know it's a lot. Let's see. Let's do this. Perfect. Can you see me now? Sweet. And then let's see if chat can hear you because I'm bringing up your screen over here. Oh, well, that's the screencast one. Let's do side by side so I can just talk to you first. It's nice to, yeah, nice to meet you as well. Okay. Bam. Let's see. Okay. Can everyone see and hear Chris? Chris, say something.
Hey, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me and see me. Maybe we got it worked out.
Cannot hear Chris, by the way.
Yeah, I can or can't.
Let's see.
I can. I do have both unmuted. Do I need to mute? Or I have. Yeah, both unmuted. Should I mute my audio on Discord?
I see the guest webcam audio going live.
Okay.
Success. Okay, we got success.
All right. Well, good. Well, good to meet you. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be Laravelized, or I'm not sure if there's a verb form of that, but excited to learn.
Got some
Oh,
echo. Got some echo on me. Okay, so there's some echo on my side, but everyone else can hear him. Let me see.
I'm just gonna drink coffee if that's cool. If it's echo for me, I can put on my headphones if that's better.
I think it's because, so I'm gonna, okay, go ahead and say something now, Chris. Let me make sure we can still hear you. Okay, so can people hear Chris okay, like when he talks there, or no? Oh, it says, I have a feeling Chris has the wrong mic enabled.
Yeah,
oh,
I think that should be better.
let's see.
Okay. Plot twist, this is just a stream about figuring out streams.
Stream about figuring out streams. We're not even gonna get to the Laravel piece.
This is warm up, man.
Someone says thanks. It is okay now. Oh, but someone says we cannot hear him now. There's a little bit of a
Yeah.
latency delay because of how I have it set up. But let's see.
No worries.
Perfect. Okay. Jason from Twitch says it's perfect. So we'll go
Okay.
with it. Awesome.
Thanks, Jason.
I'm getting all the levels. Like I've seen all the levels and they look good. But like
Okay.
I'm also listening to you through Discord and not like what everyone else is listening to. Sweet. So
Yep.
we got another good. No echoes, good audio. Perfect. Awesome.
All
I love
right,
it.
that's what we want to hear.
There we go. 15 minutes. We did it. Chris, nice to meet you. Yeah. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for reaching out, first of all. And then thanks so much for being willing to just do it live and and deal with all of this. You're the first guest that I've had, like, especially like with this setup. So it's fun to be able to like figure it out. And hopefully now I get a better understanding of how things work for the future kind of thing. So you're the guinea pig.
No worries. No, yeah, we're so at work. So I work for Resend. That's an email API for developers, and we're going to Laracon, and so that was my motivation.
I forgot.
Yeah, so we just sponsored that. So I'm going next month for that, and I was like, man, I should probably at least have a clue on what Laravel is. So I was like, who do I know who understands JavaScript but also understands Laravel? So I mean, you're top of that list for me. So I reached out, and yeah, I'm glad to do it live. I have literally not looked at anything intentionally, just because I figured if we're gonna do it live, we're gonna do it live. So that's how we like to do it.
There we go. I love it. Yeah. And then so you've never touched PHP, like not
No.
even like WordPress days.
I mean, just maybe at some point, like pre-dev days where I wasn't really dev. And I haven't been a dev that long. It's only been about 5 years actually. So during
Okay.
the pandemic, yeah,
You're
I've
about
had a
like the
bunch more
same as
time on my
me.
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And I just jumped straight in and learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then fell in love with Astro pretty quickly, and done a lot of stuff in React and Next.js, and tried to move more full stack, but yeah, never really touched PHP.
Nice. And so is that what you use a lot at Resend right now? Is mostly React and
Yeah.
probably
Yeah,
not
and
too
I
much
don't-
Astro at Resend right now?
No, I don't think my influence is that strong.
I was gonna say probably not like too many marketing sites. I'd love.
Yeah.
I personally love Astro. I've taken your Astro course At least like 80% of it. But I jump in there every now for everything. But yeah, I think one of the things, my hot take, a lot of people, always say like, oh, what's like the JavaScript equivalent of Laravel? And my hot take is that Astro is the closest thing, mostly because I think to be a JavaScript version of Laravel, you have to have some opinions while also having some flexibility. And so I think there's frameworks that lean way too much on the flexibility. And so you're never going to have like, oh, this is the way you connect to a database and do this. And Astro, I think, still is more flexible in that sense. But like, I feel like, okay, you have a flexibility of using like front end stuff, you know, Vue, React, Solid, whatever, or just Astro's HTML language or whatever. But then you also have, oh, hey, here's like Astro DB, and this is like how this is our opinion on how you should use it back. And you can use anything else, but this is our opinion on how you should do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really it boils down to, of like what JavaScript or what the Laravel for JavaScript should be.
My opinion on like a lot of the PHP stuff just from a distance has been like it seems like the PHP world tends to have more opinions on stuff, and JavaScript developers say they want them, but whenever there's a framework like Redwood.js or something like that tries to be more opinionated, people kind of just push it away. Like it doesn't really gain the traction. I think it's because JavaScript developers like the language just want to be able to do stuff like 16 ways and not be really told how to do stuff. So my opinion about Laravel and PHP from a distance is like there's more paths that are kind of predefined. Like this is what you should do. You can maybe have more flexibility, but like there's kind of, auth built in and, like that kind of stuff. Like there's more built-in paths. And so that tracks with my general assumptions about PHP in that world.
Sweet. I'm excited to dive in and just start doing it. That way I can hear. I'd love to hear your thoughts as we go. First off, like we're starting from absolute scratch. Everyone, like he hasn't looked at documentation. You haven't installed anything.
Nothing.
So hopefully we can go through that fast. But let me.
If I have, I don't remember doing it. So maybe I did like a couple years ago or something. I don't know, but no recollections.
First I'll have you like share your screen, and to do that, if you go to, I'll put this in your DMs on Twitter, but if you go to, this, video.ninja.
Yeah. It looks like there's a share screen option there.
Yeah. And, not in the one that you're already sharing the camera though. If you go back to Video Ninja and click into remote screen share, so I can get a separate link from you.
Got it.
So after you screen share, then there should be a
remote screen share into OBS.
Yes,
that sounds right.
Correct.
Okay.
And when you do that, or after you click into it and share, there should be a link that it gives, and then if you can send me that link.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. I'm not sure which screen this is saying I'm sharing, so I guess we'll see.
We'll find that out.
Screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. No idea. No audio sources detected. I think that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
It is sharing something.
Okay.
I think it's even the right screen.
There we go.
Copy link to clipboard. Oh, it's happening.
Sweet. Perfect.
Okay.
I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it into my OBS. We'll go here. We'll go to guest screen share. Plop this in. Oh, it copied the Twitter link. Let's see. So I need that link right there. Perfect. Plop this into OBS. Okay. Fingers crossed. There we go. I can see your black and white resend background.
It's actually a Raycast one, but it is kind of the same vibes. So.
Yeah, resend Raycast. Sweet.
So we're seeing all this.
Yep, we're seeing Laracon.
Okay, cool.
I like it.
This is the motivation.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, I'm excited. I actually, my first video that I did for Laravel, I actually did a resend video. Resend's
That's right.
Laravel adapter had just been released at that time, so I had pulled that up and did one. So yeah, I like resend. I don't get to use it as much because most of my projects I'm never going all the way into email. But maybe we'll install it and like send an email or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I won't argue with that.
Sweet. Let's go to Laravel.com and let's get started. So the whole purpose of if you click on there's this command right in there. Sorry for the video that
got my way.
Yeah. It's probably because your screen is a little bit.
Yeah,
if you click on
for you, but
if you click on that Composer Global require Laravel install, you probably don't have Composer or PHP installed. If you go into your terminal,
I did a sample for something with Recent once where I just installed to see if I could get a repo to work, but I don't think so. Yeah.
If you do Composer-V.
Okay, I'm seeing green. That's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
I got something.
Sweet. Do Laravel-V. I'm curious if you have the Laravel installer installed. No,
doesn't look like it.
Sweet.
No.
Awesome. So this command that we have then is good because you have Composer installed.
Just run it?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. So what is
you made it a lot easier.
What is Composer analogous to?
Composer is analysis to pretty much to NPM. That's the closest configuration. For the longest time, and this is way before I even got into PHP. For the longest time, most people said it was very hard to do anything within PHP packages within the PHP world. But then Composer came along, whenever that was. People in the chat can probably let me know. But when Composer came along, then it just made things easier. So basically this is the NPM version. You install packages, you keep packages up to date. And it has this, that Composer global installer that we said, you have the ability to basically it's kind of like NPM and MPX all in one. Where we now have the ability
to
you can
actually run stuff as well. Okay, cool.
Yep, exactly. And that's not as analogous because it's not as, I can't just run it one off, but I can install packages globally that I can run one off. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So now we should have Laravel installer installed. So if you run Laravel-V just to double check, we might have to restart our source.
Or I can just restart altogether.
Yeah, let's see. Because I know sometimes Laravel? No. Command not found. So we already ran the global installer. So we probably need it added to our .zsh.
Okay.
So let me pull up my my one just so I know where it is. It is
I'm ready to go over here.
Let me see.
I can't see chat either, by the way, or anything. So if somebody does have questions or things for me, I'm happy to. You'd have to relay them to me. I'm assuming you know that, but just in case somebody's yelling at me at any time.
Yeah, love it. I'll let me go ahead and copy this for you and put it in our Twitter. No questions just yet. Let me see if put this in your. So if we add that export path composer vendor bin, that should give us what we need.
Oh. Somehow I copied a bunch of stuff. Our whole thread. Let's try it again.
Sweet.
So yeah, I'm just gonna do. I guess this is just composer.
Yep, that is just Composer, I believe.
Okay. So let's try this again. I'm going to source it. And then am I trying Laravel again?
Yeah, let's try Laravel again.
Okay.
Sweet.
That worked.
There we go. Awesome. Let's do
Okay.
it.
Crisis averted.
Bam. So now we can run as simple as Laravel new, and then we can call this, let's just call this Astro to Laravel. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Wow, man. Conversion already.
No, I think here's where I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. So like, this is where I'm always interested, especially as I'm teaching new people, especially for people who are interested in React. It's nice to know, oh, here's some like simplicities, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that's like, oh, that's just React versus just Laravel. So we have the option to do React, and I'm fine to like walk through that, or we can do something like Livewire, which is going to be more the back end focused. Let's do React. Let's do React.
Okay. I'm happy with whatever the true experience is. You tell me that.
Yeah.
That's what I want. So
it's one of those where like it's not if you've ever worked with like an SPA where you're like connecting APIs and like doing it backwards, like stuff like that, it's not going to feel the exact same because inertia, which is the glue that ties this PHP backend with your React front end together, you don't have to worry about APIs and like cores requests and all this. It just works for you. You basically just send stuff to the front end and then request stuff from the back end kind of thing. So it's a nice way to like show the full stack piece, where Livewire would probably be more like the .astro and you have like your -- server stuff in the top.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where Livewire probably feels a little bit closer, just with a different syntax.
Okay. So Livewire is more like PHP front end and back end, and we're choosing a React front end and a PHP backend.
Yep. React is strictly React, and this is our starter kit, so it like has a lot of stuff out of the box for you. Let's do the built-in authentication, just for easy. We're not probably won't get into testing, but this is kind of like the difference between a kind of like a modular kind of functional syntax versus a class-based syntax. So PEST is usually the one that's probably more popular right now.
PEST like jest, but for PHP.
PEST like jest. There's a lot of P's, yeah.
No worries. That's cool. So so this is just like starting up an Astro, new project or anything else. We've installed Laravel globally. We're using that to basically kick off a new project.
Yep, exactly. Okay. You've got it. Where all of this right now, especially with like that Laravel new, it has those starter kits that we kind of give you out of the box that makes it a lot easier. Of course, we could start from scratch and install, inertia and React, and we could do all that. But the starter kits make it easier to be like, okay, you can get up and running. You can just create a new page and you have like this information ready for you.
Okay, go ahead and install here.
Yep, we can go ahead and install there.
Running build, does that mean, is it building the backend or something like, and then we'll run the backend in like a preview mode, or I'm curious why it's building already.
I think the reason, I could be wrong on why we build it here. I think it's more so that when you do start, you don't have to necessarily run npm run dev, because then the assets and everything are already enabled for you.
It did a lot of stuff.
It did a lot of stuff. We have a lot of stuff. This is probably the piece that most people, especially new to Laravel and coming from especially something like Astro, but even something like Next.js or something like that, it's a lot of folders to look at from the get-go, where you're like, oh, this is very confusing. Composer run dev. That should basically create. So this is doing a couple things in the background. This is
so front end and back end. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so this is running. No, you're good. You're good. I like when you jump in like that, because then like it gives me an idea of like, oh, you already see like what's kind of happening.
Oh, there you go. You're back. Sorry, I lost you just a second, and then you sped up real fast.
Oh no,
I see how fast you were talking.
I lost you for a second too, but now you're back. Let's do so. Yeah, basically this is running PHP Artisan Serve, which is basically like the PHP server for it. And then it also runs npm dev when you run that command. So it's using npx concurrently to do all that.
Okay. So this is the backend?
This is the whole Laravel application.
Okay. So where does the React fit? I mean, obviously, I'm guessing this is using Vite, so I'm guessing this is like the front end side of stuff.
That's actually just like the Vite development server. So technically, the front end, like that welcome page, is
Like, this is
all of.
everything.
Yep, that's everything. React assets being
Get out of here,
rendered
Vite.
to that page.
Okay.
So this is the part that basically like got me excited about Laravel from the first part is in that page right there, we have a built-in authentication and everything. So if you were to like, it's using a SQLite server in the background. So if you were to like try to register, we can like everything should be up and running. We already migrated all of our database options. Like that's part of like what that starter kit installs.
Okay.
But basically, this gives us a starting point now with like this starter kit to be like, okay, and it has validation out of the box. So
Nice. That's what I get for trying to do a really
really
bad
simple password.
Yeah. Well, my password right now is password. Don't tell anyone.
There you go. Password.
It's 8
That's why I usually do like testing password. I think mostly because I don't know why.
Because it's just local to my project, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. As long as I'm not sending my password out to the world.
It's already deployed on Laravel Cloud. I'm sharing it to everyone. You know,
So can I see the database then? Like,
yeah,
is this the SQLite database?
that is the SQLite database.
Okay. So where's my users? Oh, look at this. Does it hash it and everything? That's cool.
There we go.
It's hard to
I
argue
like
with
it.
that. Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good. Let's
Cool.
let's take a look at that database folder then too, because I think like that's the part that because how familiar are you with like full stack frameworks in general, like Rails, Elixir maybe?
Yeah, loosely.
Okay, because
Conceptually.
I think like that, like the difference in migrations and models when it comes to interacting with the database is probably like the biggest thing that I was mostly confused about when I was changing things up. So this is what was generated for us, all these migrations. And I think one of the things I like about PHP, and one of the reasons like I was trying out PHP and Laravel, and I was trying out Rails, and I was trying out Elixir and Phoenix. I mostly was like, oh, PHP, it looks more readable to me than Ruby in a lot of ways. Which is funny because people say like, oh yeah, Ruby is like super easy. But like I take a look at this schema create and I know what's happening, even if I didn't know PHP. And so basically, yeah, these migration files are created one piece after one piece after one piece. And so it goes kind of in top-down order. So if we were to create a new migration or a new migration file, and the cool thing is all of the files that we are going to like touch and create can be done using like a CLI.
Okay.
To make it easier.
Go back here.
Yeah, we can do that. Let's create a new model and migration actually. So if we create a new,
Do I have to kill this, or should I just open a separate panel? Or
yeah, I think opening a separate panel is perfect.
okay.
So the CLI within Laravel is PHP artisan. So if you do PHP space artisan,
No space. Okay.
and then we have a bunch of stuff available to us for here. Most of it's going to be prefaced by make. So if you do make :
Okay.
and let's go ahead and make a model. So if you do make model space, and then we can call this with a singular case. So we can maybe call this, I don't know, a post, like a capital P post.
Okay. Is that just convention to capitalize it?
That's more just convention. And I think the artisan command also like takes that and uses that for stuff like migration. So if we do a -m as an option after this.
Okay.
And then we probably also want to do let's do a -m and then RC.
Like that?
And then we can actually put that all in one option too.
Okay. Like this?
It probably works the other way, but yep, exactly.
Okay, run it.
Yeah, let's run it.
Something happened.
Something happened.
All right. Looks like maybe over here. No?
Sweet. Yep.
Posts.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Oh, cool.
Basically 3 files were created. We'll take a look at all of them. But here's where we can basically generate our schema for posts. So why don't we let's do like maybe like a title and then maybe like some text. So if we do
Like down here.
And most people probably do it, like, it doesn't really matter because this is just order of like where the columns are in the database.
Okay.
But most people do it between the ID and timestamps.
Okay.
So I would say we could do a table and then maybe like a string.
So just string.
Yep.
Like that.
You got it. And then we're going to do parentheses. And here we can pass in an actual string as a parameter to name it. So if we do, we can call this title.
Okay.
Perfect.
And then it looks like semicolon.
Yes, exactly. Semicolon. Perfect.
Semicolons are enforced.
Semicolons are, yes, you have
No
to have them. No automatic
Semicolon
adding.
insertion? Okay.
There is tooling that gives you, things like even within like VS Code and stuff like that. There's tooling that will automatically add them to you, but they do have to be added
Yeah.
before runtime.
I'm a semicolon guy, so it's fine. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing I always forget for the most part. And then we can add so just to kind of say like this table and then anything after it, like is going to be the type of the table. So there's things like text, basically anything that you might think of like for a database. There is like enums. There's and the cool thing is like even though we have our setup as a SQLite database within Laravel right now, if we were to take this and to deploy it, it's basically changing like an environment variable to change it to something like Postgres or change to something like MySQL. And outside of like those rare columns that maybe aren't supported or something like that, there's nothing else that you have to change within your database or your code, I should say.
So it's like this in-between layer that does the conversion process for you.
Yep, exactly. So it's like it's part of the I think technically the migrations would be part of the ORM, which is called Eloquent within Laravel.
Okay. So this is all like using Eloquent then?
Yep.
Like that syntax. Okay.
Exactly. And
so if I want to do like a date, like a actual like typed date, is there a way to do that?
Yep. So like there's a date format. Yep.
Okay.
And so then it would be passing like the name of that.
The title.
Yep.
Or like, I don't know, pub date or something like that. And that would just title the actual database over here. Do I have, so I don't actually have one here. Would I have to rebuild?
Yep. You got it. Exactly. So after we're done like with it, you would run PHP artisan migrate. And so that's basically telling us, okay, well, let's find any old files that we haven't been migrated. Yep.
Okay. All right,
so now we should see that in our database.
Posts. We did things, pub dates there, titles there. That's cool.
Sweet. Yeah. And the migrations probably aren't Eloquent. We can like if we were to go into, maybe let's go into our app folder up there at the top. And if we go into, we can take a look at an existing controller just to see like what this Eloquent kind of looks like. If we go to HTTP, this is what's already generated for us for the auth. So if we go into auth controller and then let's do the new password controller. That's probably like a good one to take a look at. So again, this is stuff that's already being generated for us. Here is where that inertia is basically going to be that React glue. So anytime you see like an inertia : render, a namespace that is being created, that second parameter, that the title is going to be, okay, we're going to render this specific React page and send as props the reset password array.
Okay.
So that's what's happening there. I think further down we might see more. Yeah, in the store. Yeah, a little bit lower probably. So we have this request validate, but okay, most of this probably isn't as much Eloquent stuff. I was gonna show you. Let's do verify email controller. Let's see if that's
okay.
Sweet.
I don't know what I'm looking for. So that's the end. I was gonna say I'm just gonna keep scrolling.
No, you're good. Yeah, I was trying to see if there was a good spot to show you like the Eloquent. So basically, like Eloquent, maybe similar to like any kind of database, ORM like Drizzle, Prisma kind of thing, where it's very readable and user friendly. If we were to say like, hey, give me all the posts and like let's send it to a React page, it's as simple as post : all, and then like that's grabbing all the posts and that's actually sending them as specific like in that same Eloquent model format that React or that Inertia and that Laravel kind of expects. Why don't we jump into the front end and then see what's happening there? So we can close out that app. Actually, I lied. Before we do that, let's go back into app and let's go into models. So that's there we go. And so we have that post model. That was what was generated for us. We did the PHP artisan. And then we have our user. And then so this is where, and again, this is probably like at least functionally, this is kind of like where the biggest change, I think, when we're moving from kind of like a front end focused stuff to like a full stack is like you have the migrations and those dictate your schema for the database, but the models is where it dictates how do they interact with everything else.
Okay.
And so a lot of these models you see here, like this casts in the user, and this is where a lot of those things, if you wanted something attached to the user model to make it a little bit easier, a lot of helper functions are generated in here. If I wanted to say, I want to get all the users' posts, and I make that easier instead of having to write this Eloquent or like SQL to grab all the posts from a user. It's easier to do it here in the model, and then we can use it later. So we can even do that right now. If we go into like just after that protected function or anywhere where there's empty space within that initial array or yep, right there.
Object, like right here.
Yep, perfect. And we can run. We can make it a public function because we can probably call this from a controller.
I'm guessing I type public. I should have probably asked. Okay.
No, you're good. Public function. Yep, exactly. And then we can call this, why don't we call this posts? This will be like all lowercase. Yep. And then that's going to be perfect. And this is the type. It's
an array?
Yep, exactly. So this would be like, actually, it's probably not going to be an array. It's actually going to be a belongs to.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's part of the ORM, like just you can.
Yeah, and actually, while we're here, why don't we install like the Laravel VS Code extension to help us out a little bit?
Okay, that'll work.
That way, I'm not having to remember it all off the top of my head. Perfect. That is the one. That is the one. Okay. Yes.
Of course, I trust them.
Yeah, I trust you. I trust you.
Okay, so something's happening. That's good. So we'll try again.
Download binary.
It's thinking about it.
Binary download belongs.
Do I have to maybe reload developer window maybe?
Let's see.
Belongs. I use like different code editors depending on what I'm doing. So
I
haven't opened it in a couple weeks. So
yeah. Actually, the belongs to like that PHP type hints are probably going to not be Laravel in specific. That's actually more like PHP specific. So if you go into extensions, probably the best one is PHP IntelliFence. Yeah, that one like fence. There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Man, the pun game is very strong.
There's a lot of PH puns in PHP.
No shade. It's just I like it. I'm a dad, so that's where we roll.
Exactly. I feel that. There we go.
That belongs to. Okay.
And actually, Christian on YouTube, correct me. It is not going to be belongs to. It's going to be has many because we're in our users.
Okay. So one to many relationship. Get out of here. Stop telling me to do stuff. All right.
As many. Perfect. And then that will be an object.
Okay.
So actually you don't I guess you could do that. This is another weird thing is like PHP developers like to have
something like this.
No, just the object on the following line. Like if you see on line 44.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I don't think it matters for building it, but
It's just readability.
I guess that's readability. I go back and forth. I probably look like a weird PHP developer because I sometimes have it. But now I write JavaScript like this though too, so that's even weirder, I guess.
That's why we have Biome. It'll fix it for you. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, I like Biome now.
Yeah. It's
Well,
nice. It's replaced a lot. I wish it did more better stuff with HTML, but I think they're eventually going to get there. So
Yeah. We'll go ahead and return, and then this is where we can do. I think it would be just be. Let me go. It should be users, or it should be. It should be. And actually, that is why we probably aren't getting as much type ins, because we can actually say that a post can belong to a user too. So if we say a post can belong to a user, then we know in the database, then we know that we can create it there. So one thing,
Okay.
Let's actually go back to our database migrations.
you're going to have to help me out there.
It's in
Where
the
was that again?
database folder.
Oh, that's right. Database, migrations. Oh, okay. Go back to here.
Sweet. Yep. And then after that, maybe even after that ID, what we
Okay.
can do is,
Table, probably.
yep, table.
Always
And that's
table.
going to be a foreign ID.
Okay.
Perfect. And then
This is like
this
a
is-
relation, like
Yep.
in Drizzle or something. A
Exactly,
relation- or
exactly.
Relationship, whatever they call it. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and then in the then it should be a user, I believe. Let me go ahead and make sure here. User. No, actually, I think it's user underscore ID. So basically, the foreign ID.
Like this though.
Actually, no,
Or is it string?
it'd be the string. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then after that, we can say constrained. So this would be like the arrow syntax. So instead of
Okay.
the dot notation, this is PHP's ways of doing dot notation.
Okay.
And
So
then-
2 characters.
Yep.
I don't know about
Two
that.
that throws off the whole game.
Yeah, I just can't do that.
And then
I was in it for till that constraints.
yeah, constrained, and then that's a method as well. So like a parentheses to do that.
Okay.
Perfect. Now, if we were to run PHP artisan migrate again, and we're going to actually run PHP artisan migrate or actually colon fresh.
Colon fresh.
Yep. And so this will drop everything and rerun it, because if we were to run a start, it would see posts are already created. So it's not going to find that other column. We would have to, the correct way of doing it would be to create a new migration table
Okay.
or a new migration field, I should say.
Okay. I like dropping tables, so that's good.
Yeah. Especially in production. Sweet.
So now if we go back over here, we should have more help.
Yep. And I don't know how much PHP IntelliSense, or maybe I'm just been relying on Copilot this whole time. But if we do
Yeah.
return, and this is where the $sign comes in.
Okay.
So we're going to return this. So this is basically saying we want to return this
Instance
of this instance of user,
So
and then
not dot this.
yep, you got it.
Okay.
Then this
User.
is where we can do the actually not so. I meant that this is referencing the user,
Okay. Got it.
and then arrow, and then it's going to be has many. So yep, camel case, perfect, has many, and then this is where we can pass in the class of the model. So instead of a string here, this is where we can actually do like a post.
This
Yep.
guy right here.
And that might actually have been the wrong one to bring in. Let me see. Post. Oh, that's the right one. And then if you just do, we'll just do a colon class to say that this is going to be the class instance of the post.
Okay. So this colon syntax, like what does that map to?
That is a good
Because
question.
if dot is this,
Yep.
colon is just like It's what Rust stole from PHP, or
That's a good question. I'll see if anyone in the chat, maybe Florian, if you're still here, you are a PHP master better than I am. But the way I understand what this : is doing is it is referencing a namespace within that. So I actually don't know if there's a one-to-one reference within JavaScript that I'm thinking of. I guess a class within JavaScript. I guess it would be the closest, but that's referencing
like new instance or whatever of the class. Like I'm instantiating. Not really. I guess if you're, I don't know.
Yeah, not really. It's probably just because if we were to just have the capital P post, it's not referencing it at all. So if we were to go up to the top when like PHP, and actually because we're in the same namespace, we don't have to use this use blank that we might see at the top.
Okay.
James KH on Christian and YouTube says, what was that? Sorry?
Oh, I deleted something that this belongs to. We don't need that.
Yeah, we do not need that. It is a static method.
Oh, okay.
Static method. Yeah. And if we were in a different
double colon is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Double colon is static method. Yeah. And the weird thing about PHP is if we were in it, so we are in the namespace there at the top of app/models. So we don't have to import that use function of the to do the post because we're in the same namespace. But if we were to try to grab this post in our like a controller, which is a different namespace, then we have to actually call use app/models/to do.
We would call that down here, like inside this.
You could do it both ways. Actually, you could do like a full namespace of like /app/model/post, for example, and that would reference it. Or you could bring it in at the top, kind of like similar to like a import function within JavaScript.
All right. So what is this giving us then? It's now given us a function to be able to call all the posts that belong to this particular user.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yep.
So is it kind of like created a API route for that, but like just for our application?
So it's not as magical as that. That'd be nice. This is basically just giving us a function that we can call within our controller, for example. Okay. So if we were to go back into like that at the top there, that like app HTTP controllers. If we were to go, let's even do our like let's do the auth and then maybe like that. Or let's do, auth settings controller.
Okay.
And then like profile controller. So it basically just gives you the ability to, in this request, now, like in that array, that second array parameter of that settings/profile render, I could say, give me all of the logged in users posts pretty simply. And what that would look like is
posts.
Yep, that could be exactly it. So posts, and then we could say, and we'd actually don't even have to do like a request because inertia is kind of like this magical glue where we don't have to say, hey, I need to make sure that the request user is it. We can actually do like an auth, a capital A auth, or even a helper function there. And we pull that in. This is the class base, so this is going to be : and then we can say user,
uppercase,
then,
lowercase,
lowercase, just like that, and it's going to be a method, so parentheses.
Okay.
And then here's where we can say this is the arrow, and we can say the posts
inside here.
After the user.
After.
Yep.
Okay. Like that.
Perfect. Yep. And then we can
also
put a
method.
colon there. Yeah.
Because that's the function that we created. Colon or comma or nothing.
It doesn't need a comma. Yep. The last one doesn't need a comma. Yep.
It's an array. Okay.
Yep.
What's going on down here? Undefined method user. I guess let's leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's working. Just don't look here. I'll scroll up.
But yeah, this is basically how you would reference that within a controller. And we can delete this because we probably wouldn't want this in the settings profile of a user. But that's basically what we defined in the model is now what we can use in our PHP within a controller class that our front end is calling, or that it's being received from our front end. We can now just grab all the posts as well.
This is like a Git collection for this user. Sorry, I'm going Astro on you.
No, you go for it. I like
and you're
it.
getting all their posts, and you're filtering it by the user who created it.
Exactly. You got it. Perfect. Cool. Let's jump into React for a little bit. I don't know how much time do you have? I know that you said
I have about an hour from now. Yeah, I got about an hour more.
Sweet.
And I got a hard stop at. Is it 9:30 for you?
It is.
You're Phoenix, so you go.
Yeah,
everywhere.
it's 8:30 a.m. for me. Yeah. So.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So I'm behind.
At 9:30 your time.
Sweet. I like it. Let's jump into and we can remove that post now that we don't necessarily.
Now that we know.
That. Yeah. Now that we know. Let's jump into React and take a look at kind of like what's happening. A lot of this stuff is going to just feel very familiar, but we can take a look at what's actually happening here. So all the React stuff is given in. We can take a look at routes first. Actually, let's do that because you clicked on it. Let's do web. So this is those 4 files are mostly just conventions. Like you don't have to have like these, oh, here's auth.php, which contains all of the authentication routes. It's more just for visibility of like, instead of having one large file, it's saying, okay, let's grab all the auth ones and let's put them in their own separate route just for simplicity's sake.
Okay.
But this is the file-based or namespace-based kind of routing where we're saying when we have the / route, we're going to return inertia render, and it's going to be that welcome page. Because we have that Laravel function, we should be able to like command click into that welcome, and we should get taken directly to the welcome page. Perfect.
So this is actually under resources.
Resources.
Okay, pages, welcome. Okay. Cool.
That was a little bit tricky for me when I first, because I was like, that doesn't make sense to be like in resources in the JavaScript kind of thing. And that's customizable, but it's more a convention of like, okay, this is all the JavaScript that our application is serving. And within that, we have components and hooks, layouts, lib, and then pages as well. But basically that's in that route, when we called that welcome, it's looking for the welcome name within the pages directory by default, and you can modify that if you wanted it to be elsewhere, but we didn't have to call /pages/welcome. It's just welcome.
Okay.
But yeah, the starter kit gives us shadcn out of the box for React, so it's feels very familiar
in here, and yeah.
Yep. I think
there's all our shadcn stuff.
There it is.
Nice.
Yeah, and then so in that welcome page, that's const auth prop. That's probably like one of the things like to talk about for one of the inertia helpers that is basically given. That use page from inertia is basically
kind
saying,
of custom hook. Oops.
Yep. Exactly. Custom hook to be able to say there's some things that we want to have on every single page. And most of the time it is auth. It's saying, hey, I want to like have the ability to say what is like, who is this user that is currently logged in? So that way we have that information available to us without having to have any other kind of API call request every single time the page loads, for example.
Okay. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and in that shared data, I actually don't know where it is off the top of my head. Let me take a look.
I'm guessing too, like all this is server rendered by default then, if you're getting the auth here, is it just passing down the user? Yeah, I'm curious like where this runs.
Yeah, great question. So inertia is all going to be client side. So it does it does run basically the routing and everything is happening on the server, where it is grabbing any kind of like props, because you're never calling for props basically in React. It's not like there's no server components type stuff where you're calling for specific things. It is grabbing that information like from post or users on the server and then passing it to the client after it's already been rendered. There is like server side rendering inertia that you can easily turn on. It's basically like a couple of lines of like configuration to say, okay, we want this server side. At the moment, it's just one or the other. So you can kind of either choose, do I want everything client side rendered or do I want everything server side rendered?
Okay.
That being said, a lot of people kind of do like their application and even in Laravel, like applications, like our official Laravel applications, we have like the application in React or Vue, and then like the marketing pages would be all server rendered, what we would call Blade. It wouldn't be React as the templating language. Blade is Laravel's .astro, for example.
Okay. So is that per page or per project you have to decide the rendering strategy?
Per project. Per project. Yeah.
So there's no like split, like where you have one that's pre-rendered and one that's not. And yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And there probably is, I don't know if people have done it before, and I don't even know if it's actually possible, but I bet there probably is. So basically when you create a server side rendering entry point, you're saying all of these pages in this directory are server rendered. I bet there is a way to also say, then these pages are not server rendered. I don't know if anyone's done it, honestly. That'd be, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm curious if people do. But yeah, like for the most part, most people it's per project based kind of thing.
I'm seeing here that there's like a head here. There's no shared layout or anything like that. Although I'm seeing over here, you got like this app layout, auth layout settings. So like how does, well, I guess here you've got this app layout, but here there's nothing. So like which layout, is it just using like a default layout?
For the welcome, it's for the welcome, it would not have, there's no layout specified there. Okay. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, similar to, there is no page-based or a file-based routing templating system where it's like, hey, this is my template, and every single page I don't have to do the import that layout. It's just more component-based.
Okay. Cool. Well, where should we go next? What else?
Sweet. Why don't we
place to explore?
Why don't we do let's create a new page, and let's make this, maybe we'll make this posts.tsx. Okay. And that way we can kind of do that. And then why don't we just copy everything in the dashboard for right now, just for simplicity's sake, and we'll just kind of paste it over and change a couple things.
Oh, sorry, I missed everything out. There we go.
No, you're good. You're good. And then we could probably
post.
Perfect.
Maybe.
I like it. Yes. And then let's go into that app layout, and we can change like the sidebar.
So into this file here.
Yep. And then app layout template.
Okay.
And then the sidebar.
Right here. Got it.
Perfect. And then at the top, we have like kind of like the stuff that's being rendered.
So I should probably make this visible. And maybe I have to relog in.
I think because we migrated fresh, you'll have to create a new account. Yep, we dropped everything.
Oh, that's right. Dropping tables. All right, let's try it again then. What, did I lose you?
Nope.
Okay.
You're good. You're good.
Okay. Cool. All right, so we have this here, and that's what we're wanting to add is another one. Is this link a helper? This is just from, oh, it is a helper, so it's like a routing.
And we basically just have to use the way that the template set up is we actually don't have to do that. Actually,
well, I killed it. Sorry.
Yeah. If you remove that, then if you go up to top, the main nav items are actually its own object.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we can just add
an extra one.
And actually, this would be nav items for the bottom. It's like a footer now, so we probably don't want it there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. So here we
Perfect.
change this to posts.
Yep. There you
And
go.
then the icon is something else. Do we have IntelliSense here?
Yeah, I don't know if we have IntelliSense there. This would be like Shad CN type icon.
Like Lucid. Okay.
Yeah, like Lucid.
Okay. All right. So I did that.
Sweet. So now we just have to make sure we add a route too. So like that's the piece that it is like, it feels a little bit more separate, mostly because it's very still MVC type structure, where we're like, okay, we need a route for this /post. So if we go into
Or it
that,
won't render like the button up here or whatever.
so we do
it's
have
up here.
posts.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. So go back to where now?
If we go to web.php,
Okay.
perfect. And actually, yeah, web.php is perfect. We can in that group function where that route dashboard is, we can actually just copy that like route get. Yep. And all the way through
thing.
through the name. Yep. Then we can duplicate that, and we'll just change. We can just change everything to post. Perfect. Awesome. So what that is doing is that name that is showing that it's giving is then also allowing us to, instead of for the pieces within PHP, and even there's some things within React and Inertia, like helper functions that we can use. There's things like Wayfinder or Ziggy. Those are separate packages, but mostly that post allows us to then use a named parameter instead of saying /posts whenever we want to go somewhere.
Okay. So we can just say dashboard.
Yep, exactly. Like let's redirect to
post or whatever.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Sweet. Perfect. So now we have that being rendered. So now we should be able to, why don't we get some fake data going in our post migration, and then we can get it all. So here's the way to kind of like do this the Laravel way would be, let's pop open our code editor or our terminal again. We're going to do PHP artisan make, and then we're going to say factory.
Okay.
And this is where
just hit enter.
Yeah, but if you enter, it'll prompt us for us to say like what it should be called. So we can call this the post factory.
Camel case, kebab case.
Whatever
right?
that case is. That's true. Yes.
Okay, cool.
It looked like you did post factor instead of factory.
Oh, I did.
Should be fine though. We can redo it. Sweet. Let's go into that.
Can I rename this now?
Yep. Let's rename it.
Post factory like this?
Yep. Perfect. Post factory.
Do I have to change anything in here?
We should. Yep. Just have to change that class. Yep. Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. And so factories are basically what allow us to use like fake data. So we don't have to like grab in kind of like other package. We could just create our own like fake data to say, when I seed the database with this factory, what kind of information am I actually putting into it? And you can technically do all of this in a seeder, but the factory is like the easiest way to show it. So I think we needed we said we had a title, a date,
and an ID.
And a user ID. Yep. So timestamp's already going to be generated, so we shouldn't have to do that. So let's go ahead and do. Let's do. If you do in that array, we can do a string of title.
$? No, just string.
Actually, just like the title itself. So we don't have to call string. So just quotes title, and then this is where it's going to be the arrow syntax.
Okay.
And actually, sorry, not arrow syntax. It's going to be like the equal arrow syntax.
Equal arrow. No. One equal.
Sorry. So a space after title, and then so it's going to, since it's in a object, it's going to be like the equal, and then the right bracket or right arrow
Like this?
without the dash. Sorry,
sorry.
just the
Okay.
greater than. Yeah,
Got it.
Sorry.
No worries.
And then we can call faker.
Oh,
so
so
FA
just using Faker.js under
And actually,
ahead.
sorry, not faker, just fake.
fake.
Fake. Perfect.
Okay.
And that's going to be a method.
Method.
Perfect. And then this is after this is where we do that arrow syntax. And
Sorry, I
then so we
almost
can
did a
say that that's okay. It happens. And then this is where we can say what it's going to be. So this is going to be like a sentence, for example.
All right, so just like type the word sentence.
Yep. Type the word sentence, and that's also going to be like a, yep, perfect. And this is going to be a comma. So every, perfect.
And then pub
we
date,
can,
I think was our other one.
I think we called the pub date. Yep.
Fake.
Fake. And that I think we can call that maybe like a date time between might be good.
Okay.
That way we can say this I believe gives us 2 parameters, so we can say like it's going to be like maybe I don't know
Is it
-1
like-
year,
Okay.
and we can actually do like natural syntax here.
Oh, nice. So -1 year.
Perfect, and then it will be a second parameter as well after that. Actually a comma in that method.
Oh, okay. In here, second
Yep.
param.
Perfect. And then we can say now, like sentence, as
Method? No.
a string. Sorry.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then last, we just need the user ID.
Oops. All right. So user underscore ID. Am I
Underscore.
remember?
Yep. You got it. And then this is where we can also call like a user factory, because we already have one created for us out of the box. So we can actually, this will be I think we might be able to do this as a class-based instantiation. So if we
That's
do
my colon thing. No?
user : factory, we should be good.
Okay. User like this. : Oops. Factory.
Yep. Factory
Uppercase, lowercase, method.
should be a method. Yes. Maybe we don't. And let's pull in that.
Do I have to pull it in? App model. So this
No,
is
we-
what you were speaking of earlier, where you have to import it because we're in a
Yep.
different namespace.
Yeah, but I think. Yeah, that should be right. Because if you search for user factory, I think starter kits have a user factory in it. Okay, we do. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. So we are good there. And then so that should be everything that we need, I believe. Let me think. That should be everything. I guess one thing that we do need is if we go to the post model,
Okay.
we need to make sure that this information is, a lot of this is basically just making, being secure so that it makes sure we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, and all of these like conventions kind of like are like, okay, we need to make sure that this is built for applications in a sense. So like what we have to do here is make sure that this model 1 can use a factory, and 2 that information can be filled into this model, so it's allowed to be fillable. And so what we can do here is in here we can say use
Right inside here.
Yep,
Uppercase,
right inside here,
lowercase.
lowercase, and then we can say space, and then it will be has capital H has factory.
Okay.
The
Method?
same, and this is that's actually just no method, just a colon after that.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Semicolon.
semicolon.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. And then a couple of spaces down. Yeah, but what we can do is do a protected fillable. So protected, and then it's going to be a $ fillable.
Okay.
So this is the.
What does the $ do?
So that is like the actual name of the name of the variable. And because fillable is one that is a reserved variable in the model, like the eloquent model that this class of post extends, then we can say, okay, this isn't like creating it from scratch. The model is actually searching for this fillable variable. And so in here, this is actually going to be an array.
So just like that.
It'll be equals array. Yep.
Like this, and then space.
Yep. Space array. And then if we open that array up, we'll go, and this is where we can input each field that we need. So we need a title, that pub date, and this is going to be colon. Yep. Pub date.
And then user ID.
User ID. Perfect. Then we can semicolon at the end of this array.
Okay.
Perfect. And then the last thing we probably, just to make things easier for us, is any date. Usually we want to make sure we cast it as an actual date time. So, and this is mostly just to make it readable within Eloquent for as a date. So after this protected fillable, what we can do is a protected $ casts.
Okay.
Perfect. And that's also an array.
Oh man, I was hoping I got that right.
It was you're
So
spot on.
close.
I didn't even see it. And then it's going to be pub date
String?
as a string, and then it's going to be the equal greater than sign
Got it.
of a string of date time, all lowercase.
Okay.
Perfect. And then we can do a comma and perfect. And then we might as well also use like throw in that public function user here too. So that way we're referencing in both places. We can call like, give me the post user and also give me the user's posts too. So that's public function and then underspace or lowercase user.
Okay.
As a method. Then the return type. And so we can do a colon after this. Return type is going to be belongs to capital B. Yep, perfect. And then this is where it's going to be an object, so curly braces. And then...
Oh, wait, I forgot PHP. Is that good?
Yeah,
I did that right.
You're nailing it. I like it. I love it.
I look like part of the family.
Yeah, you're invited to the cookout.
Sweet.
And then we can return... And then this is that $ this.
Okay.
And then arrow syntax belongs to. Perfect. And this is where we can pass in that user : class.
Oh, that's right. User : class.
Perfect. And
Because we're in this namespace.
Semicolon after the method.
Oh, I like that. Not here or also here?
Not there.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. So I like it. So this is basically setting up the ability that we can use a factory, that we can make it fillable. In this case, like this fillable is not just for the factory. It's also for if we were something in the controller that our React app is doing, as well as the cast to make it more readable. If we wanted to say like, basically, Eloquent has what extends from Eloquent is something called Carbon, which is basically like like easier to read dates. And so we could say something like, if we are saying when this was published, we could send that information to the React app by saying, instead of it being a specific date time format and then doing that calculation on the front end of this is, 7 days ago. Laravel gives us the ability within Eloquent to say, just give me readable human format within that date time, that pub date.
So what's the typing situation in PHP itself or in Laravel, or are they the same?
I would say there's not too much that separates Laravel from PHP within that typing specific thing. Within the starter kit, for example, we do like lean into TypeScript. We kind of already saw a little bit of that. Like and there's stuff that is being created by the Laravel team to help that within the front end of like, there's a new package that just recently came out called Wayfinder, where it's basically like, hey, all of the things that you're doing within calling actions or form actions or calling routes and stuff like that. It's a lot easier if they're typed on the front end instead of having to figure out what they were on the back end. And because we know what they are on the back end, we can do it. So like right now, it's maybe not as great as it could be in that kind of back end to front end divide.
Okay.
But within PHP and Laravel, like specifically on the server, I would say there's quite a bit of type safety, especially like this. So there's return types that we kind of see here.
Yeah.
And then there's also like within any kind of class or with any kind of a model or anything like that, we could also add additional types and even like PHP doc, which is kind of like JS doc type syntax.
Okay. Yeah.
To say this is exactly what I'm expecting here. So
I think I saw that somewhere. I don't know. In one of these somewhere.
Probably in the
Like,
in the
oh no, that wasn't it. I don't know. I saw it somewhere. Yeah.
yeah.
Because
You
it
might
looked
have,
like JS doc, and I was like, I wonder what that is. But
yep, exactly. So it kind of is up to the individual, and there's kind of like how
oh, sorry, go ahead.
go for it. Kind of like how Biome like allows you to be like, okay, I might get this completely wrong because I haven't used Biome that much, but I like specific syntax, specific configuration within like ESLint, Biome, stuff like that allows you to say, this is how strict I want it to be. And this is how non-strict. PHP does have stuff like that within things like Rector, or even PHP Stan, which is like a static analyzer.
Okay.
That basically allow you to say, okay, how strict do we want to type? Like everything should be like at least have a return type. That's usually what I think most people kind of lean towards when it comes to PHP types. Like I'm not a huge type person, but
Okay.
I usually do PHP like a return types. That's like my go-to.
Okay. Cool. All right. So now what we've done, let me make sure I can talk back through this.
Yeah.
So in this model, we've basically said it's allowed to use a factory. Here's where it should store the title, pub date, and use date within the fillable, like reserved, constant, or I don't know what that would be, just variable. We're casting, and I'm guessing this is another, like this is basically saying I'll grab all the types and let me update this one to be a date time.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we're tying, this is what we did earlier in the settings that was like, it probably doesn't make sense in the settings, but here it would make sense for the posts to say, I want all the posts by that user.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So then with the post factory, can we say how many we want it to create? Like it'll just create 10 or whatever, and using Faker or whatever it's using under the hood for this fake method.
Yep. So now we can go into if we go into database seeder.
Okay.
Yep, there we go. Database seeder. So we can see here that like that user factory has been removed. Like we have a test user for that. So what we can do now is we could like comment both of these out, and we can do a post : factory. And here's where we can kind of say that how many we would like, kind of like what you're mentioning. So this seeder is basically what allows us to say, okay, we're using this factory that we created as like the syntax. And like I said, we could have written all this out in this seeder itself and not use the factory. And we could have just called like this fake and everything like that within here.
But typically you would write the factory, call the factory from the seeder, then let the seeder do the work.
Yeah, exactly. Especially within large applications where you're like, oh, like within our Laravel cloud applications and stuff like that. Like a lot of times it's like, oh, hey, here's 50 different factories just to get your local environment up and running to make everything like, hey, this makes it a lot easier to get from the get-go. And
that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, like the part that really, like most of the stuff I do is like a solo dev. I'm like, I'm not creating too many factories.
Yeah.
Except for like when I want something like up and running. Most of the time I'm even maybe just doing that in the SQLite database myself, just like manually creating things. But when I want someone else to like open up and run this locally, it's so much easier
really
to have.
Nice to have a factory.
Yeah, exactly. One command.
That's a cool pattern.
You create it and you're like, oh, I have all the information I need. I don't have to find all this stuff, and it's so powerful that we only probably like touch like the surface of it.
Yeah. I like the idea. I mean, of just like, yeah, using whatever it's using under the hood, Fake or JS or whatever else, like to, or maybe not JavaScript at all, I don't know. But to be able to like template stuff like that out makes it so much easier when you're learning something. Like you're not sitting around creating a bunch of random data. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I like the pattern. So how do we get this to run?
All right, so we can go back into our terminal and we can run PHP artisan db :seed.
Okay.
Bam.
So now something's happened. And if I go over here, I should see posts.
We didn't get an error, so that's a good sign.
Okay.
Sweet.
Look at that. That's pretty cool.
I like
mean,
it.
It's all Latin, but
Yeah. I actually think, I can't remember. I think there are ways to tell fake, to say like fake with like specific,
yeah.
instead of using lorem ipsum. Or
Yeah.
maybe that's a separate package. I remember there was one cool way that I saw someone using. I was like, oh, that's really neat. I'll have to remember that. And I never remembered. There's
Well,
probably
sounds
so
like a
much
video.
stuff. Yeah. There's probably so much stuff that like even there's stuff like within that the Laravel official team, they'll look it up and they'll be like, oh, like that is now like I totally forgot like that existed. I think like it just kind of lives there.
How long has Laravel been around?
So Laravel, I believe Taylor created the first initial commit just over 11 years ago, and probably is even longer. When was the first commit in Laravel? June 2011.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a lot longer than
Okay.
than 11
Yeah.
years ago. But yeah, so it has been
I know it's a
Abs-
really mature framework, so
yeah.
that's all I know. Cool.
And like people started using it even before he hit 1.0. I think people started using it in like production just to
Yeah.
go. But I think Laravel 4 was when a lot of people was when the majority of the current code base is probably like, of course a lot has changed, but like, that's when the biggest changes happened and a lot of people came in, kind of into the framework. And I think that was in let's see, 2013.
Okay.
So
So how do we
2011 to
then-
2013. That's crazy. I didn't know
Now
that.
that we've seeded this, we've
Sweet.
got the model set up, the factory's working, it's created all our stuff. Now we want to pull these into the actual post route, right?
Yep.
Is that the idea?
Yep. I
And
think
this
the
comes
idea
in
is
as a prop.
Yep, it would come in as a prop. First, we need to make sure we pass it. But yeah, it would come in as a prop that we can then, deal with on the front end. This is one I'm not as familiar with TypeScript as I should be. But we'll go ahead and start in the post controller because that's the best way to kind of make this happen. And why don't we do in the index method? So this is when we generated that make post, we said -mrc, which basically created a migration for us, and then a resource controller.
Okay.
So this gives us all of like, excuse me, all of like
This is
these.
the resource controller.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. And the
Gives
model is
us-
what we were just looking at.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. This gives us like those 7 CRUD-ish methods of where it's
Index,
like, hey,
create, store, edit, update, destroy.
yep.
Okay, cool.
And so this is typically like what most people, again, it kind of depends on like preferences. Some people prefer like single controllers, invocable controllers, where it's like, instead of having resource controllers, I will just create the route in my web.php like we already did. And then some people are like only resource controllers, where if it's not one of these 7 functions, like then I'll create a new resource kind of thing. So it kind of depends on like personal preferences. I think I'm all over the place when I'm doing React and stuff like that. But in this index, we can go ahead and let's create a new variable. So we can do $ posts, and that can be equals, and we can do post : all.
Uppercase?
Yep, there we go. And then that will be a method. So, and then parameter after that. So this is basically saying, give me all the posts, and now we can push it into that React front end. So what we can do now is after that index, or after that all, we can go and return, or sorry, after that completely after the all, so like a couple spaces down. Yep, we can return, and this is going to be an array.
Oh man, I was trying.
Very good. It'll be return an array, and then it's going to be sorry, not return an array. It's going to be return inertia, capital I.
Okay.
Perfect. And then : render. So this is like the static class from inertia to render. And then, yep, you got it. Posts. And then the second value of parameter, yep, is going to be an array.
So just an array like this?
Yep, perfect. And then this is where we can pass in that post. So we can say like a string posts, like so quotations posts. And this is going to be that. Yep, you got it.
Equal posts?
It's going to be the greater than sign after that.
Oh man, so close.
Yep.
But I do use the $sign.
Yep, you use the $sign there.
Okay.
Perfect.
So now I have a prop called posts that is all my posts being pushed into that page.
Yep.
So inertia render here, like this is already somewhere in something, right? Like, or no, it's just here. Didn't we have like the web?
Yep. So anytime that we are calling, so like we had that web.php, and this is where we'll have to then change that, because now we want, instead of rendering this post when we get this post, we want to point this to our controller instead. So this is the source of truth for what requests are actually happening. We just create that controller to make this to cancel this out. So what we can do is
like get rid of this.
Yep. And I guess like the easiest way would be to, there's kind of like a bunch of different ways to do this. The easiest way we can solve, instead of route get, we can call route : resource, I believe. Let's see. Resource. Let me see. I always forget. And actually, let's do it this way instead. We'll keep the route : get, actually.
Okay.
And instead of that function, so if we can remove that function as a second parameter, and instead of that function, let's do an array that has.
Sorry,
No, you're good.
there we go.
Array, and this will be post controller. So capital P.
All uppercase. Okay.
Yep, exactly. And then we can : class that. And then the second parameter of the array is going to be which. So we want to do the index kind of thing. So this will be it. And this will be a string of index. Yep.
Okay.
You got it. And so this is kind of like an easier way. We could have done like the post resource, which basically wraps everything up. And it says, okay, when I call a post, or when I call a put to this post route, I'm going to use like, the patch method in there, or when I call a get, it's going to use the index method. That's an easier way to kind of like wrap it all up. I usually generally like to go for this, where it's like a little bit more explicit of like, oh, when I get post, I want to make sure.
Do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That way I'm not confusing of when it's a put or a patch and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So now
So
if
then
we go
over here, I should have the post, right?
Yep, you should have the, like if we were to take a look at like the web.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. If we were to take a look at like the in your dev tools, we should see like that being passed in.
Like I'm guessing React DevTools. Which I don't know if I
Yes.
have installed on this browser, so
that's
I might
okay.
install those. It's probably when I use different things for everything. It's the right one, right? Can't even see anything.
One Nick Pony on Twitch, my favorite League of Legends player turned Laravel guy. It feels so long ago, but it also feels like yesterday. It's good to see
League
you.
of Legends guys. That's you.
I played so much in college and so much after college. I even coached a college team for a little bit.
Oh man,
That was
maybe I have
fun.
to restart Chrome. I don't know. If I do that, I'm going to lose everything. So I'll just trust you on that. So
Well,
sorry,
yeah,
I have it installed here.
I can't remember if there's maybe it is just React DevTools that passes it. We also should be able to see it in. I should be following you along so I can follow it. I should have downloaded. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't see it in here yet. I probably have to restart, but then I would kill the stream. So
No, you're good. Let's go ahead. And so now we can actually access those, access those posts. And so what we can do is,
see if I can pull these in like this. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so it is coming in.
sweet. And this is where I'll kind of rely on you for how to type all of this. Cause this is where
Yeah, did we get any help from the front end or?
we don't yet. So this is something that I know that the Laravel team is working on a lot to kind of make this a little bit cleaner, especially now that a lot of the official Laravel core team is using React in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it just hasn't been necessary a lot.
Yeah.
Or just not been what people are asking for. But it's one of those things that is now, I would say, front of mind, especially in these last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, we could grab all this and type this if we wanted to. I don't know if it's that important. I guess we get IntelliSense, but if you're not used to do that in PHP, that's fine too.
Yeah.
I don't want to take up time since we only have a little bit left to type it all. But I mean, we can if you want to.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just
Because we're getting it in here, so we can do stuff with it.
Yeah. Sweet. Let's loop through it. Let's map it
let me get
out.
rid of all this stuff here. And well, yeah, I'll just do something like this. And then we're going to take our posts, the map, we'll take each post, and then we've got the title. I'm allowed to use my JavaScript stuff in here, right?
You're allowed to use. Yep. This is pure React. Nothing fancy in here.
All right, let's just drop a B dot title. So we won't get IntelliSense, but that's okay. Oh man, I got this new split keyboard that I'm still working on figuring out.
No worries. I've always wanted to use a split keyboard. I have just not made the jump yet.
I'm just an old man whose back hurts, and so having the split keyboard has helped my posture significantly. That, and I usually stand when I'm not on stream, and walk on a treadmill. So I'm just a weird guy with a split keyboard walking in my basement.
There you go. I like it. I love it.
So yep, we could technically type this right here, but we'll just do any. I know, call it.
There you go. Call it a
Well,
day.
it already knows it's any, so that's not going to help it because it's yelling at me. So yeah, I mean, we're actually getting the post coming in here, so that's pretty
Sweet.
cool.
I like it.
And
the
that's kind of cool. So that it just kind of gives you everything you need here. So
Yeah, and the neat thing is that there's so much within inertia specifically, because inertia is that glue. There's so much that then you can do, especially once you get into a little bit more advanced type stuff where there's things within deferred props within inertia, for example, where let's say we had 10,000 posts that we were rendering, and we needed to, of course, we could easily paginate those within that controller that we're sending to this inertia page. But we could also say that we want to defer it so it would not hold up the rendering of that page, and actually and we would get the ability to
stream it in afterwards almost, or?
Yep, exactly. So it'd be a deferred component that we would have in React that we could say, okay, here's inertia.js/React gives us a deferred component that allows us to say the fallback, this is the loading parameter, but that data I'm waiting, this deferred data is this particular piece of information. So we could technically wrap that all in a deferred component within React and do that. So
we would just wrap it here.
Yep, exactly. And we would probably actually wrap it in, just the post piece because we don't want to wrap the app
Oh,
layout.
the whole thing.
Yep.
That's true. So just this part.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of cool. So it's like almost like suspense.
Yep.
More or
Exactly.
less. Okay.
Yeah, more or less. I don't necessarily know what's using under the hood. And so I wonder if we get, if we can pull that in. But yeah, the fallback is going to
This
be,
is just JSX.
yep, just JSX.
Okay. It's like a string of JSX.
I believe it's just, I think it's just JSX. So you could just put the div in there. Yep.
Okay. And just say like loading.
Yep. Perfect. And then you
And then
could
it needs
also,
one more thing.
it needs one more thing of data. So data would be equal to props or the posts. Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. And I don't think we even need to have the posts in the initial prop
Call
mode.
right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't believe so. No. Maybe we do. I think we probably do.
Loading eternally though.
And then we need to defer it on the controller side as well.
Oh, okay.
So if we go to post controller, instead of that colon or that $ posts, we can say inertia : defer. Perfect, and that's going to be a method which accepts a function. So we can do a single line function in PHP, which is fn.
Okay.
And then a function, yep, and then the dollars or the equal outside of this fn array, but
Okay.
equal, greater than, and then this is where we can do the we can actually just call post : all here just for simplicity, so we
Okay.
can remove that other.
And I can get rid of this.
Yep.
Now I don't. Oh no, it is still named. So I'm just declaring it here
Yep.
and assigning a name to it. Okay. So then I'd get it in here. Maybe.
Did we break it?
What did I mess up?
Let's see. Is there a space after all? Oh no.
Should there be?
No. No, you're good there.
And over here, now it's just breaking the whole thing. This is no longer going to be here though, right?
Yeah, I don't think we need that. There's a break that.
Now it's just part of this deferred thing. Maybe.
And maybe I actually don't know if
Post is not defined.
is it like data post now or oh sorry. The post is a string of data. So data
Like this?
and not even in JSX. So, yep. That work?
Post is not defined.
And maybe we could add posts the prop back into the post function.
Up here?
Yeah. Still not working, huh?
Now it can't map over it.
Let's see.
Now you mentioned earlier perhaps props. Do I just say props down here?
I don't believe so. Let me take a look. Okay, so I think we do have to. I think we do have to define them, or maybe we don't. Yeah, deferred, and we're pulling in this deferred function, correct? Like at the top.
That's a good question. Yep, looks like
we
it
are
from inertia.
Sweet. Posts. Okay, data equals posts.
It's hard to debug on somebody else's machine. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Sure, if it was on yours, it'd be easy to do.
Yeah, I wonder if it's. I don't know don't know what might be happening there. Now that I think about it. So we have the data. Yeah. Okay. And we have like the div afterwards, and we're mapping the posts. Yeah, I don't know. Huh.
What happens if does it still load if I do this? Probably, I'm guessing. Or does it needs a child. But let's just replace this with like a div. See if it loads. Okay, so at least it's rendering, so it's just the fact that it can't find posts. So somehow it's not getting into here. But that's okay. I mean, I understand it conceptually. It's like a server. I guess the only part I'm curious about is like how that actually works in practice.
How it works behind the scenes.
Yeah, so like let me get all the way back to where we're at. Okay. So like this, and then I gotta go back here and we'll replace all this. So we'll get it back up and working. So, if I'm putting on my Astro hat, there's like server actions.
Yep.
Where, oh, I thought I did it right. Oh no. That's right? Just don't need this. Okay, there we go. So you have a server action where you can go basically do stuff behind the scenes. And once that data is fetched, it then streams in as HTML, and then it basically swaps that live. Is that the same kind of thing that's happening, or because we're in React land, is it actually like just giving it raw JSON, or do you know? And then and then we're parsing through it at that point, or I'm just curious how it's returning it to us in a deferred state. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't necessarily know what's under the hood for the inertia React component piece, but for the deferred function on the Laravel side, like the PHP side, it basically spins up another instance of when that bootloader happens on it's rendering the thing, but then it's basically spinning up almost like a one not long-standing queue in a lot of ways, where it boots up another instance of the request to finish out that task. And so it's deferred technically doesn't work within like a Lambda function, for example, where there isn't necessarily a sense of like a long-standing request. So that's how it's working on the server. On the client, I don't know if it is like wrapping suspense. I would imagine so, if I remember some of the initial conversations, but I haven't looked into the actual underlying workings as well.
No worries. I'll have to explore that. That seems kind of cool.
But someone did say they're saying you need to, for the deferred React to work, you need into there a component which receives posts as a prop. Okay, that's how React works instead. I guess that makes sense, and that's how the docs show it, where it has to be like a child component in that deferred thing.
Okay,
but we won't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, this was our child component, but this was just the JSX. So you're saying I would just have to pass in a full component, like render this somewhere else.
Yeah,
separately, and then
I would guess so. And I'll have to look at that, because I don't think I've used deferred within React. I've used it within Svelte. That was when I tested it out, and it worked fine. So Inertia does have Svelte and Vue additions, basically, or like versions.
I saw the Vue one when we set it up.
Yeah.
So you can also use Svelte. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and there's not official starter kit, but there's other starter kits that you can use within Svelte as well. But why don't we
got like 8 to 10 minutes. What else do you feel like it'd be cool to go over?
Let's go over forms, because that's like the biggest thing within Inertia is, or within any kind of application is going to be forms. And so Inertia gives you a form helper, and we can probably see this if we looked at the settings page, or like even like the login page. We could probably see, so like even like if we go into settings appearance, like if you nope, not that one, chose wrong.
Okay.
Let's do edit. Settings password. It's because it's passing it into a controller, so we don't have the click through to Inertia.
So if you do here, maybe
use
form.
There we go. Perfect. So what's happening here is this is Inertia's like form wrapper. Of course, like as you know, forms are like everything within a application. And so the way that we talk from front end to back end is not having to write any APIs. It's just saying, I want to use a form, and then I want to send that data to a particular route. So you can see here we have that put route. And so this is where we're using that named route parameter is password.update. And then Inertia form gives us some additional options. So like preserving scroll. On success, this is what we want to do. We want to reset the form. If there's errors, this is what we want to do. So all of this is given kind of like out of the box within like Inertia form helper, mostly just to manage all this easily on the front end.
That's cool. So then this is going to correspond, this password update is going to correspond to one of these routes over here.
Yep.
Maybe? Yeah, right here. Okay.
Exactly. So if we were to even click through to, if we were to click through into that password controller, I think PHP IntelliFence maybe gives us, maybe it doesn't. Password controller.
Right here.
Perfect. Okay. Yep. And so this is where that update, so we would be validating that information. So that request validate is saying, this is where we're kind of in the, while we're waiting for this to be validated on the client, this Laravel gives us this validation rules out of the box, and we can have even custom validation rules, but this is just as simple as saying, this password needs to be required, needs to be, confirmed with that current password. So that way that confirmed piece is a validation as well. And then any kind of like password. So like password defaults that it's passing in, I think that's like the 8 minimum characters, and you can't have, I don't actually know. Yep. Just
right here.
Password requires at least one uppercase and one lowercase. Okay. So those are things that you can kind of like modify even just within these password defaults.
Okay. That's cool.
And then that request user is kind of like that thing I was saying, like, because we don't have to worry about sending, I need to now send all this auth information back to the client to make sure it's the correct user and like authorization piece. Inertia handles all of that for us. So we can just say, if like, let's update this request user, that sync has already happened. We don't have to worry about any kind of security concerns there.
Yeah, it's nice to get a lot of that just built in to not have to roll all that yourself. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, like with Laravel in particular, can you self-host Laravel?
Yep.
And there's like a Laravel, I forget, I saw something on the site when we were looking at it a second ago, like an actual hosted version too, right?
Yep, there is. So Laravel has Laravel Cloud. So we basically have like 3 different hosting options that are official Laravel. Of course, you can deploy wherever you want to. It's just it's just PHP and Node, I guess, if you're using Inertia. But Laravel has kind of like 3 official options. It's Laravel Cloud, which is kind of like the managed for you hosting. That's as kind of like a Vercel alternative, where like if we were to push this up into GitHub, it would be as simple as saying, I want this GitHub repo, and it will deploy it for us, kind of thing.
Just like CI build is,
Yep. Exactly. Cool. Laravel Forge, which is basically like you connect your own Hetzner server or DigitalOcean, whatever you want, and it will set it all up for you. So obviously you're really only just paying for like the management of your server without having to do all the other stuff. And then there's also Laravel Vapor, which is basically like AWS for hosting as well.
Cool. Yeah, it's like crazy how many. Yeah, there's just so many like custom names for things, and like every area, and I'm just like Vapor Cloud, all these things, and then like Inertia and I don't know, like all these different names. It's just
because if you look at that like open source tab too on Laravel.com, like that's where it even like gets crazier, because every package basically like has like a neat name. So we have
Echo,
Scout,
Reverb,
and all of the, it's like all specific. Like most of the time, if you need something, there's probably going to be the package for it. Like Scout, for example, is like full text search. So you can use things like Mela search and TypeSense and like have all that built in. it just abstracts away all that stuff, so you don't have to set it up much. And or if like we need to use like Google login, there's why am I blanking on the name? Sanctum, not Sanctum. There is Socialite. I was like, why am I blanking on the name? There's a lot of names.
Yeah. Just these alone. Oh,
yeah.
Socialite.
Yep, Socialite. There, I was right there. It was right there the whole time.
Right, they're just looking at us.
Yeah.
And
I'm
then
curious.
you have these two, then you have Svelte, and then
Yep.
Livewire is like the PHP front end and back end.
Yep. So Livewire is the one that I kind of like hooked into the first time I tried it. And this is where I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts, like in the last couple of minutes, is the reason why I chose Livewire and use it for most of my projects, of course, I still like building in React and Vue and Svelte and stuff like that, is because I have kind of like within Astro, like, and the reason why I like Astro is like I like writing, hey, here's all my client side code, and then here's my server side code, and I can just call it. So Livewire basically gives you the ability, you're writing, if we were to do like that post stuff, it'd probably be a lot quicker because we wouldn't have to jump around too much. Of course, like it's great with inertia in the long run. If you're building a huge application, you need to have that stuff. I like Livewire, like the speed of it, because I could be like, within that post, for example, we could create that form in the same file. We could create that. We could even say, oh, I want all those posts in the same file without having to jump into a controller and render it and stuff like that. And so, I guess like
I could see that being like kind of the fundamental. If you're gonna like really try Laravel, like that should be where you start. It seems like, because to me, like when somebody comes into Astro and they're like, oh, but I also really want to use React, and they just basically port over their whole React app. I'm like, I mean, you can do it, but it's not like you're kind of missing out a lot of the benefits.
Interesting.
Of
Okay.
Astro.
Yeah.
Not that I have a problem with using Astro or React in Astro, but it's like if Astro is basically doing routing only and all your rendering is just done in React, then it's like you're basically just building a React app and just like, and embedding it in Astro. And it's like, I mean, you get some benefits. You can use some of the stuff in Astro, but it's like the speed, like a lot of the superpowers of Astro, I feel like are kind of at best handcuffed.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
Is that kind of Livewire? Like, is that comparison?
I would think so. It's definitely fair. It's one of those things where I think within inertia and Laravel, kind of like you said, it's easy to know that, oh yeah, Laravel can just render in React. Like we're good. But it's harder to then see the benefits of Laravel, I think, in a lot of ways, where you have, until you need them. You're like, oh, now I need to like have like, I need to run queues. Well, that's always been Laravel. You just consume it differently within React. I think Livewire, especially at least from my understanding from the get-go, is a lot easier to kind of get this glimpse of the batteries included piece, where you're like, oh, it's this simple. If I'm calling something from Livewire, I could do the exact same stuff within a controller and call it from my React inertia piece. But now I'm just seeing it a little bit more quickly, a little bit more visually, where I'm saying, oh, now I can send an email with resend, and I'm just doing all of that. I click one button and that happens. Of course, you can do that within inertia. You click a button that's a use form that hits a post, that hits a route, that does all that. It just seems more abstracted because it's meant to be that way, like where you're like, oh, you can use React and your team doesn't have to change. You just have the benefit without having to write this API layer and stuff like that. Yeah. I get that definitely with Astro too, where it's like nothing changes too much when you're using React. You just kind of like you're not seeing the full benefit at the get-go, because you're just waiting for it when those times come, kind of thing.
And you don't always know that they're there either, because if you're used to writing in React, then you're kind of scoped mentally to what you can get in React. And so I always recommend when people start with Astro, like just do Astro only, and then you can basically do extra stuff as you need to, pull in a React app or or a React component or whatever. But I feel like if you start with what in some senses, it's kind of its own kryptonite. Like it helps you get started faster. It's like somebody who's checking out Laravel is like, oh, I could use React. Okay, well, let me give it a shot then. But if you stay there, it can kind of scope what you know about Laravel to just what what your expectations are with React. So it's almost like, with Astro, I typically encourage people just like go all in, learn enough. And then if you want to jump back and start using a lot of React, that's great. I use React in a lot of apps that I write in Astro, but probably do have to balance. But I really appreciate this. This is super cool. And I think there's a lot of like patterns here that I'm like, I want to kind of explore further now. Having just touched them a little bit, I'm gonna have to get used to that arrow syntax instead of the top. But other than that,
arrow syntax, arrays where you have the single arrow. I need to figure out, now that I've done a couple of these where I'm like telling someone what to type. I need to
fat
learn
arrow, single arrow.
Fat arrow. So there you go. See, I need to learn how to do that a little better. It's always tough when I'm like, I know what it is in my head, but like I can't say equals greater than, kind of thing, arrow. But thanks so much, Chris.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for jumping on, being willing to do that. Yeah, I'm curious. Maybe next time I'll have you try out Livewire and we can do like some resend email stuff. That'd be fun.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it then.
Awesome.
Thanks again.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, you too. Bye.
Awesome. It was great to have Chris on. I got jump as well. Gotta get working. Gotta get started on some stuff. But yeah, thanks so much to everyone who was here, who kind of like hung around. Yeah, it was cool to see kind of Chris's mind go different places, especially when it comes to kind of like just jumping right into things like the form functions as well as like what's happening like in the back end when it comes to database and migration, stuff like that. Also, this kind of stuff always helps me when I'm telling someone new about it, especially an existing developer who knows things. It's always great to see, okay, what pieces am I missing, or what pieces should I make sure I focus on when we continue learning stuff like this. So, thanks so much everyone for sticking around. Resin, want to learn Laravel full free. What should I do? There's a bunch of great tutorials. I would say Laracast has some free Laravel tutorials to check out. I would check them out. I have some full tutorials on my YouTube channel as well. That's youtube.com/@JoshSiri. Dylan, have a great weekend as well. Thanks so much for sticking around. Thank you, Learner, as well, for the stream. Die Bell. Then comes Volt and Nino packages. I know there's so much. I'm making another video about some of the updates to my starter kit that I've done, which include a whole bunch of like PHP type stuff that I've learned quite a bit. But yeah, thanks so much everyone for sticking around. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. And thanks Chris again for being willing to jump on live and get that all figured out. But hopefully everyone